welcome to another episode of Modern Black Man Podcast. We going live. I got Siren with me. Siren, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Man, I'm excited to do this topic. We're going to talk about gender and identity. I think that those are two very complicated and significant parts of our lives. Um, what do you think when you think of gender, Siren?
I think there's too much fixation on like what makes you feminine and what makes you masculine, because like things can cross over for both of us. Like there are men who are nurturing, there's nothing wrong with that. There are men who are soft, there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make them less of a man. I mean, it's all, to me, it's all in what you identify as. If you tell me that I identify as a man, okay, cool. Like I'm not gonna question that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's too much fixation on like what makes a man. Like, oh, I have to go outside and work, and I can't cry, and I have to pay all the bills. Like, I feel like it's been like, I feel like on one end, especially for men, because we hold them to these stupid standards, it really has done a lot more damage than it has good. Because at the end of
Yes.
the day, I hear stupid comments like for women, like, oh, it's too masculine. Like, no one is attracted to a woman who has her shit together because that's too masculine. Well, I'm not trying to be masculine. I'm just trying to survive in a
Yeah.
capitalist society.
I want to talk about that though, because that's where the conversation goes. And, depending on what side of the gender pool you identify with, if at all, you might see different things. And I think that that's the awakening we're having right now, is that women aren't dependent on men like they clearly were dependent on men 50 years ago,
But
right?
yeah, we don't need to be. And that's kind of, I mean, let's be real. If you meet a woman today and she just, no, I'm going to use an example. I always tell me all the time. So I'm not supposed to have my shit together. I'm just supposed to stand on the side of a road with a sign, seeking a husband, homeless. Well, like, you're not going to want to date me.
That sounds like porn to me. That sounds like a man's fantasy. Like, I wish I could find a chick that was bad and washed like that, right?
But
That was,
but then you hear men complain like they don't want, like, if she don't have nothing going for her, I don't want her. Like I wouldn't want nobody like that either. I want to see that you could like at least have effort and work. How am I? You want me to just be broke? I can't afford gas. I can't afford nothing until I meet you. So
that's an
first,
attack on women, not an attack on the men. And I want to talk about that. As you know, I've probably been hated on by men associating with women that are successful. And I think that that's the trend. It's to take a woman down who's successful. And I am a man, so part of me, I kind of get it, where, the competitive side of us might want to trip someone else. But I'm off. It turns me on. I'm all for it. I like women to have things. I like women to be lavish and extravagant, and I don't mind for a woman to, like take me somewhere nice and to be exposed to those things. It doesn't make me feel like less than a man. It really makes me feel motivated as a man, and like I have a teacher. And that's what turns me on so much, because I think a lot of these women, they had an awakening or an experience with an older man. And now that they've aged or gotten to that age, it's the cycle. It's cyclical now. And a lot of times these ladies want to reach back. And I am all for it. I don't know why men demonize that. And I think it's really interesting. So when we talk about our first dynamic of gender, I really think that that's laced into the DNA of gender, especially for men. We are probably told that we have to be competitive. I know psychologically, I think competitive, so I can see a lot of these things. But I think a lot of men in the modern era suffer from, I would call it low self-esteem, but that's not what I mean. I think that we aren't able to celebrate what we bring to the table naturally like women can. And the skills that we're learning are, in my experience, alternative. Um, it seems like a lot of these skills are alternative, but they pay off so significantly. And that's what I think we subjugated and put on women for a long time in all cultures. And now in the free culture, in American culture, you see black girls the most educated. You see women at large successful, right? just different for men. We don't have that same aspiration. Education isn't a draw for men often like it is for women. To put those initials behind your name, it doesn't always mean the same that it means for women. So I think that's a huge part of gender, and I think that's how it's playing out in the modern culture.
I wish it would change. I just wish like men, like you have so many men fixated on money and dick, and it's just like there's so much more to a human being than just that.
But that's what we take pride in. So you got to understand that I've had this conversation before. I want to be inappropriately worshipped, right? I want to be appreciated because I can provide. I want you to treat me a certain way because I make things happen on a bigger scale or level than you do or can. And that's where I think the control comes in, like you said in the beginning.
But it can come from the smallest things. Like it's not like just like, oh, like yeah, oh, I make more money than her and this and that. Okay, I feel like I think you were in the club, like the club room on fan base when we had the conversation. The guy was like talking about how his wife was like a nurse or something, and she wanted to like retire him, and she wanted to be the the what do you call it,
Breadwinner.
Breadwinner of the house and stuff like that. And he like had an issue with it. But I'm like, okay, if you guys have a family and you're taking care of the household, that's still a big contribution to you guys' life because it's looking out for the greater good of the team of your family. That's it. Like there is no like I don't understand.
I remember that conversation, and they won really big with him doing it.
They what?
They won as a family really big with him staying at home. I remember that conversation.
Yeah, it made more sense because I think she was clearing more than him. So it wasn't like, and like from what he said about his wife, she wasn't doing it to be controlling. She was doing that to look out for the betterment of their family. And that's why I think I get annoyed with the hardcore generals. Like at the end of the day, if we have a relationship and a dynamic, it's not about who making the more money. It's about who can carry us to where we want to be. Who can look out for each other? Because if that was the same situation, if that's my husband,
I'm not biased like that. I'm trying to be, but we got to back it up. It's the man's ego. It's a way better situation all the way around for the man to stay home. But I guess is it stigmatized in our society still? Because I feel tense for him because I know what that's like. Being at home while your lady's at work is a loaded situation.
But why?
Ego. The man, I have to provide. I make more, even if it is, I make more money than her. But your family loses because you're just getting some dollars, but you're not doing this better, that better, or this better, you know?
In that situation, he didn't make more money than her. I'm pretty sure he said she made more money than him.
Yeah, I remember. She did. It's a win. It's a win. But because as men is ego, we don't want to feel less than often. I think a lot.
Naturally, wouldn't you want to challenge that ego for the betterment of your family unit?
Yeah, I wouldn't want nobody to know. Just for my family. Like I would do it just for my family. And
because you think the other men would be. I'm assuming that some other men will be judgmental, but half the men who judge you ain't even got nobody.
No, I think that a lot of people settle, and there's nothing wrong with settling. I think that that's what we're finding out is that real love isn't a fantasy. Real love isn't just you find Alicia Keys and she's a sweetheart, right? That's not that's not reality. So yeah, I think there's a lot of resentment and animosity because we're men and we're competitive. You want to be married to a linebacker, but you want to be competitive with your buddies and act like you bag supermodels, right? Because that's the way men are. Just like men watch with beer bellies will sit and watch commercials and be critical of the women of how they're not attractive enough, you know?
Right.
That's the greatness of being a man, though. Like
that's like Kevin Samuels talking about women over 35 are old maids, but he's been divorced twice. He's 56.
Was it twice? I know he was divorced once.
He was divorced twice. He was 56.
I mean, but it's exactly that. Kevin Samuels, before he passed, he got to have so much notoriety and credibility for destroying settlements.
Everybody.
For shitting on anybody that was average or less.
Because I definitely see him the story of men. That's why I used to hate when men would tell me I didn't like him because I'm a woman. No, not at all. I didn't respect that. That's how you make money.
Well, okay. I had an ex. I swear to God, she was the Kevin Samuels type. She should have just got slayed by him, right? But because as men, when we have somebody we like, we protect them, right?
Yeah.
Because he's in that business, and if you really look at it and uncover it, he tries to say he's doing it to make couples and families and all this stuff.
And he wasn't.
I believe that he didn't know. Not to be disrespectful, he didn't know what he was doing, kind of. He was just trying to be controversial, do something different. And I think that he had ebb and flow. I think he had some greatness, and I think he had some wildness.
He definitely has dropped some gems from the times I have watched him. Like I tell people, I literally had to stop watching him because I could feel that the whole basis of your platform and what you're doing, even if you start on a good note, now you realize that when you demean people and bully them for the internet,
there you go.
More views. So now your intentions to me are ill. I'm sorry to say, any relationship guru, any influencer, to be honest, I don't like them because anyone. It doesn't matter if they're relationships, Fashion Nova, anything. Their whole basis of the job is to make you feel like shit. That's how they make their money.
Yeah, and when you tell people that in the beginning, I think that they slightly doubted it, or they went to the other extreme where they were just like, oh, he's just shitting on black women. It's like, no. He's shitting on everyone. Right. He's trying to bring your self-esteem down like probably a therapist had done for him, and he ran with it. And I don't like people like that because they're not trained. They only react to how they had felt in that situation.
He literally had zero credentials. Nothing. And then people always trying to get, I know as like people say black women complain, but you can do research. There is whole business models based on dragging down black women. And black women, and black women are some who participate in that because that is their business model. So that's
the best part about America, though, and one of the most beautiful things about black women is look at our country and our country's history. Black women are at the foundation of everyone's household for 200 years, and now I think that's how black girls got paid back on the low, that conditioning. You know what I mean? The covert and overt conditioning in this country and methods of division. Our girls are getting educated. They value that more than they value families. And I
then today, like I tell people all the time when they say like the masculinity of women, it's not about masculinity at all. The society we live in. But you have to be independent now. Look at the cost of living. You have to. I tell people all the time, we're going to even use the hetero nuclear family household. How many households do you really see where there is really a stay-at-home parent? Unlikely, because the cost of living requires both parents go out and work. So it's like I tell people all the time when the men are like, oh, these women are too. It's not about that. I can't sit back.
You got to find a woman that is worth sitting at home. And I think I have a woman that's worth sitting at home, but like the point we made previously, how the hell are you going to have your woman that's, let's say she's a doctor, right? How are you going to have your woman with these credentials at home when all you're doing is hustling hard and working 2 jobs, 3 jobs? Like, she's an actual professional.
You're yourself for ego. So you have no quality of life just because you want to stroke your ego.
Yes, and that's what men should. I'm toxic, right? That's what men should do. Because I want my girl to see me. Like, he a construction worker. He work in a suit, and he sell dope. Like I want all the glory. I want all the glory.
But then I gotta look at people and like it's like you're killing yourself for your ego. You have literally no quality of life anymore. I'm not even saying that about supporting you are literally doing 2-3 jobs to take care of your household, and you have a partner who is willing to go out and help you, who has that career, who can at least assist you and take some of that off your back. But because of ego, you're choosing not to. So now you have no quality of life. You're stressed. You're getting sick. We know our men don't like to go to the doctor until the last minute. So now you are overworking your body trying to keep up with a stupid ass facade instead of living your life and being happy with a partner who wants to build a dynamic relationship with you.
But I want to bring it back to Black girls in gender, what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that, like I said, generationally, this country who has used these women, these bodies for all purposes, for medicine, for exploitation, for pleasure, for shame, for everything,
Mm-hmm.
come full circle? Let's just use 200 years. It's a much shorter timeline, to being the most educated of all of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ones that were brought into the house in secret, the ones that were used and abused in the dark, right? I'm just making this point to show our resentment collectively, because I think all men are really invested in Black women. And it's interesting how we go about it, because Black men, we probably love you the most, and we're probably doing the most to hurt you.
I think it's just, I mean, now I've gotten to a point where I just ignore the shitty comments because I really don't understand. Like, and I've had like and it's not arguments with men, but like literally, and I am that I'm not the asshole about my education, but I will tell people I did go to college, I still go to school, not currently, but you know, still trying to learn. And like I tell people with the, you know, with the argument about, oh, these women are too independent. There is studies that show not only black families, families, excuse me, across the board of all ethnicities and race that live in America, because of how the environment and cost of living has changed. All races teach their kids, no matter boy, girl, in between, how to do almost all household chores and how to survive on their own. Not because they want to, not because they're trying to erase these traditional gender roles, because that is the society we live in. I can't depend on that little Johnny over here when he leaves my house at 18 is going to find a girlfriend, get married, and she's going to do all the damn cooking. Little Johnny got to at least know how to operate the microwave and the stove a little bit.
I've been
over here. You need to change your tire.
Speaking of education and all those things, I don't tell anybody about any kind of education, right? As a man, because on the women's side, women want you to work with your hands. And on the male side, men don't give a damn. So, I mean, women are only endorsed to be educated, right? Mm-hmm. And you said that we're teaching all of our kids all of the skills. Nope. I think that's a very strong point as well.
No, I mean, I know for me, I can do some stuff. I can patch a drywall. I know how to paint. Because
you can probably change oil too, can't you?
You said what?
You could probably change oil too.
I know how to do it. I don't, but I know how. I was taught. Yeah, I know how to do the fluids in my car. I know how to do all that stuff because my parents, when I was younger, it's not that they didn't like, you know, see me in a relationship, but it's like my dad, my stepdad now, if anything happens in my house, my stepdad say, hey, come watch me do this. Because they still value that I know that. And I've had men, like, I'll tell them, like, oh, go to the house. Oh, we got to patch up this wall. I mean, they're doing it myself. I mean, they're not, and I haven't had anybody.
That's sexy.
Yeah, shoot. Shoot, they overwork me when they know what my career is anyways. I mean, man.
But what we're talking about, the exchange, the skill exchange, I think that we all, by gender, are learning the other gender's trade skills, and we're also learning that some of these things can be demystified. They're not as complicated as we think or thought.
Like men who cook. I love a man who cooks, and a lot of men who cook are very happy to tell you that they cook, and I'd be like, oh, babe,
we're better in bed and we're better cooks than women. That's actually proven. You said what?
I said, but then you got some who want them to cook for you. Why I gotta cook for you when you know how to cook?
Well, okay, because it's sexual. Because like I cook, and that's how you pay me back. Like
I'm gonna wash the dishes. I'm gonna clean the kitchen.
Okay, that's what is that? Codependency? Not codependency, but that's how you function in a home. That's domestic harmony, is what I'm trying to call it. Yeah. That's domestic synchrony. I think I look at that different because I want that. I work towards that, but I think that as far as the cooking thing, if I cook the main entree, I might want you to complement it with some sides or dessert to help me out. It depends on what my appetite is, because I don't like a woman to cook. That's why I cook so well. I've been cooking for myself and my family since I was like 10 or 12. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't
Some
like
men would be
other
mad.
people's
Like,
hands.
now my woman gotta cook because that's how it's supposed to be. But in reality, why does it? It doesn't have to be that way. We just
Right.
have been running with the societal rule that it's supposed to be that way. And in reality, it don't have to. That's why I'm like, that's how like with these relationship rules and stuff, they're always trying to cookie cutter tell you how your relationship should look, and that's not gonna work for every household. It's not gonna work for every relationship. Y'all
If
do
I
it.
let my chick cook for me, I would die. She's from Louisiana. Everything got sauce, cheese, fried, fat, just damn. So another reason why I think men should take a point of pride in either contributing or providing food for their families, because the nutritional aspect. In my experience, women usually make comfort food, right? Food that makes you feel good, but all mama did was put salt and butter in it. All she did was sprinkle some sugar on it. All she did was put more cheese on it. So I think that's huge. I think that there is a level of connection that comes from that, especially from those of us that had maybe experienced that growing up. Your mama making a plate for this reason or whatever reason. And now as a curator of it and being the head of the household, you can provide that way is the way I
The
do
plate
it.
thing. And I've grown up. My mom has been, not to put her business out there, but she's been married twice. And even that, because my mom, like her second relationship now is, so I tell my mom all the time, she's so interesting. I might have to bring her on a podcast episode. Like her second marriage is very just interesting to me because it's different. It's very
Positive,
different.
right? Positive,
Huh?
right?
No, positive, different,
Positive,
but
right?
some people might judge it. Like, for example, love you, mom, but she probably won't see this. So, for example, my mom has been married for 10 years in her new marriage, maybe 12. For
That's beautiful.
5+ years, not even for half their marriage, their marriage, they didn't live together. They lived in 2 separate states, and they enjoyed it. They loved it.
How?
They live together now. But I mean, yeah, and even in the house now, like my mom will make plates sometimes, but we all go in the kitchen and make our own plates. My mom cooks. She's like, all right, food is ready.
Five?
So part of that they were in the same city, and then part of that they lived apart from two different states. Yeah, and they worked it out. They would go visit each other, but they loved it. They said they liked living separately. It was nice.
Let's take a brief moment and let's talk about long distance relationships as we talk about gender and identity. I think that's so beautiful because when you hear about people that make it through the distance, you can see something different in the relationship. I don't want to be negative, but it's just the time on that is so precious because you'll throw the whole relationship away before you endure that pain. And everyone has seen it and experienced it. Maybe that moment of vulnerability. You know what I mean? Is all it takes to really
But my mom is, see,
tear
my
down
mom
the house of
has some
cards.
pretty open opinions too. Like my mom is one of them women who is like, okay, you go out there and smash somebody in them streets. As long as you're paying the bills and taking care of me here, I don't really care. So,
Oh wow.
my mom has my mom also has different values too on her relationship. I mean, my mom, like, I remember one day, like, nothing sexual, but I remember one day my mom was like, oh, I'm going on a date tonight. And I was like, you going on a date? And she was like, girl, it's just a date. And it really, like, I remember hearing her say that, and it really changed my perspective on things. Like, she's not like, they have a strong relationship. My mom and her husband, they travel. I mean, they do a lot of stuff together, but they're not codependent. Like, they're not, it's not
You
like
want
they.
a relationship like that?
I mean, personally, I've changed a lot because I used to be that person who was like, I'm hella monogamous, I'm hella jealous, and in reality, I'm not really like that. I personally feel like if I love my partner and stuff like that, and I trust them, if you value our relationship, you're still gonna take care of home, you're still gonna take care of this relationship. Some stuff I'm not about to really fight. It's just like people checking people's phones. First of all, even if I was in a monogamous relationship, I'm a grown ass adult. I pay this phone bill. And if you go looking for trouble, you're gonna find trouble. So even if I'm not doing nothing, you open up this phone and you see me saying hey to somebody, you might take that the wrong dang way. Plus, like I always say, I pay my cell phone bill. If you ain't paying my cell phone bill in this phone lease, put that damn phone down.
I don't think I'm one to necessarily check the phone, but like you just said, if you go looking for trouble, you'll find it. So I kind of take it Um, if you, it depends on the environment you have. If y'all ain't open like that, don't play that game. And in a long distance relationship, I think exactly that, and I don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
That's the only way to respond
I
is be
mean,
able to
and, you know,
see everything and
I do long distance dating right now. Like, I'm not in a relationship, but the person I'm dating is, you know,
long distance.
3 hours away. So for me, yeah, like, they know I go out on other dates with other people. They go out on other dates with other people. It ain't no problem. Like, I always tell them, as long as that person's nice and you treat you right and you having a good time, go, by all means, go ahead. I don't own that person. I mean, first of all, like I said, we're not in a serious relationship. But then, two, you know, I'm not there. I want you to do what makes you happy.
You're not seeking ownership, and it's just like you said. That's, you know, that's the ideal situation, is you want to be able to be free, and it's not about commitment. And dating is a fun topic because there are so many levels.
Yeah, and
uh,
you can have, and you can. I'm not gonna. And you can even have commitment and still value somebody's freedom. Like, even for me, I always say, you know, if I get married, okay, I'm gonna love my partner. I want to spend time with them, but I still want you to have a quality of life. So yeah, sometimes you might want to go out with your boys. Sometimes you might want to go on a vacation. I'm not gonna sit there and stop you. You ain't got to do every damn thing with me. You still have a life. You're still a person. A relationship is a compliment to you.
yeah, I think that you know, we use our relationships for many different things. To wrap up the segue on long distance, I think that for me, I feel that it's very often problematic when you want a long term committed relationship and you
Um,
incorporate distance,
yeah.
because the distance is crippling, breaking. Get into an argument, get into a fight, and have somebody be 6 hours away. Let the person not look right or act right, and they're 6 hours away. And I think that that's, it just builds anxiety in so many people, and I know I'm one of them, where I just can't be at a distance. So yeah. So gender, I think that we got a lot of really good aspects of that. I think that we can agree that gender has certainly evolved. The roles, norms, traits are constantly being exchanged. And I see it all the time now. And I don't know if it's because I look at it through that lens because of what we see in the news every night and just what we know about our world. But I just kind of feel like, we're going to go back to the tradition really soon, because
I
there's so
think
much.
I think that's the push. That I think that's what America wants secretly, but I
Yeah.
feel like people need to be very wary with. I think that though people may be uncomfortable with us going to the future, I think the future is better than what they're trying to give us, because when you look at little things like Roe v. Wade, when you look at certain laws and stuff coming around, those are the predecessors to put us way back in time. And I'm not even saying for gender, I'm saying for race, I'm saying for a lot of things. And people, I don't feel like people are not paying attention to that, because there's so much between everybody. There's so much of a punching down effect and hate. I'm gonna use that especially with the black community. That's why I say I don't like to do the, you know, black man versus black women, gays versus blacks, because at the end of the day, that's not the conversation we need to be having. We need to be trying to ally, because like I tell people, especially living up here in Florida, the Don't Say Gay bill. Okay, everybody's so fixated on don't say gay, but forgot to look at the textbook laws coming, and now we can't do critical race theory, or now they don't allow us to
Mm.
be taught, or how people keep forgetting that our governor DeSantis, when George Floyd happened, passed a bill that it is now legal to shoot a protester.
Yeah, on the highway, right?
Yeah. So think about who those bills are directed to, black. So that's where they're starting. Same thing with Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade is a really important one, because the way that argument, when it first came out and legalized, was argued, it takes precedence to a whole bunch of other cases. So don't think that those cases can now, if Roe v.
So
Wade is gone, it's not going to be challenged.
did they strike down Roe v. Wade?
They might. I really hope not. That's going to be a slippery slope.
They can't, because it's literally like it's almost more important than amendment to this point, because the precedents that it sets in the landscape of
Yeah.
abortion in this country.
And
It
just again,
literally is
for
the
the other
pebble that
arguments
holds
like
together the dam. If
interracial
they
marriage and
could,
gay marriage. Oh,
it'll never happen. Industries would go down, and then just like in Texas, I think they outlawed it in Texas. There's like it's crazy what they're doing. People will go and they will start doing the most atrocious, women I'm blaming you people. You will go to the most atrocious places when you have semen impregnate your eggs. You understand? When there's a life growing in you, you're gonna have to do something for it. And if you're too late for Plan B, you don't have health care, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I guarantee you there will be a loss of life.
There's gonna be back. We're gonna be back to where people were doing back alley abortions, and people's lives are gonna be in danger. And that's why I keep telling people it's not about if you're pro-life or pro-choice. It's not about that. It's about looking out for the community. Because at the end of the day, even though I might be pro-life for myself, that does not mean I want a 16-year-old who got raped to have a child or to have to feel like she has to go and get a coat hanger to get an abortion. That's not fair. So,
we're coming up on those days. I truly feel that. I'm not even joking. I would say that I'm pro-life, but I'm realistic. And people get abortions. And the dumbest thing we can do is to now lose mothers and children.
And plus for the Republic, and I don't really, I don't want to be say I'm into parties, but these Republicans argue, and it cracks me up because they're talking about they don't want people to kill babies, but then let that 16 or 17-year-old have that baby and need welfare, and they're tearing her apart. So pick a side, because you don't want to get government assistance is so terrible. These people are lazy. No, Sarah over here had his baby at 17. She's not even in high school yet. She needs the government's help. So that you guys set that stuff up. You guys, you set yourself up for that. It's just a lot. And I mean, again, hate to say it's the patriarchy. Why do you have this much control over my body and uterus?
I want to control the woman's genitalia so she doesn't have to bother mine.
Exactly. But there's such a pushback on the male. And it's like vasectomies. I've heard so many men, not so many, because there are some men who are really pro vasectomy. But there was a guy not so long ago on Twitter. It was a big thing. And the guy was talking about, his experience with getting a vasectomy and, just being educational about it, not forcing anybody, just, giving the education. And these men start going off at him. They were like, how disgusting, you're getting your balls cut off, you're gross, what is wrong with you, XYZ. And he's like, think of all the women who are on birth control and what does their bodies. And he said, and this is a simple procedure, reversible, that we can do. He's like, I'm not saying that you got to do it, it's just an option out there. I mean, but men were tearing him apart. I'm like, the man was just being educational.
When you get older, this is how my mind works. When you get older, especially women, it's harder to keep that body bad. And this birth control has so many effing hormones and stuff coursing around in it. It might be better for my bedroom action for me to get a vasectomy instead of trying to pump dysplasia. What's the pill called? Lunesta? I don't know. Whatever female birth control is.
We have so many on the market.
Lovenstein, Norvestrin. I forget what they actually are called.
You have the POPs, which are the proestrogen estrogen combinations, and I've taken those. They made me depressed. I've tried all birth control in the market.
Some of them break your skin out. Some of them cure
Depo-Vera. I'm gonna say Depo-Vera gain weight.
Yeah, some of them make you fat.
I'm gonna say I've had the natural version of birth control, and it made me hemorrhage. So. There's so many problems with it. I'm not saying, I still take it because I'm trying to avoid more children, but there's it's like the men are like, oh,
the reality of it, Siren. It's just the reality of it is that this stuff's with your guts. So if you want to stop making babies inside, you're gonna have those kind of side effects.
We got men out here sipping on lean and taking Xans, but they scared of a little birth control.
I don't know. Like I said, we're dumb. I wouldn't trust a man to take it. I think it's stupid. Why would we take it every day? We're not going to do it. Like, man, I forgot a couple doses, but what do you think? Specialize in the pull-out method. If we were good at science, we would probably be doing something besides.
And I don't even trust the pull-out method because everybody thinks they're good at that and they don't be.
Pull-out doesn't even work. It's just that kind of luck. Pull-out method doesn't even work.
And plus, I know from first hand the pull-out method don't work because that's how I had my baby. And two, I tell my OB. I remember telling my OB over the summer when I was in a relationship. I was like, I need my birth control back ASAP because I was switching. And I was like, I'm not responsible. And I remember telling the person I was dating, I was like, we was having fun, we partying. And I was like, don't forget, babe. I don't have my birth control no more. Next day, what you mean? Like, have your birth control no more?
Right. It
Are you
got real.
stupid?
Yeah, it got real. Cause that's a weird point to be in your relationship because she tells you, and I think the first time you don't know why, because we're dumb. And you're like, bitch, why? I don't care. This is the then like when she tells you for the third time, you're like, wait, what the fuck? Why are you getting pregnant? Like, what's going on? Right? Like,
And look, I can. Now we'll both be stressed out.
but it's a really big deal, and I think that that's where we should make more reformation in sex education and what we actually teach is maybe why this shit happens. I want my daughter to know why this stuff makes your kitty hemorrhage, right? I want my daughter to know why you gain 15 pounds when you take this one versus that one. I
But see,
want my
so many
daughter.
parents, especially and again, patriarchal. I don't want to blame it all. Well, no, America is just that complicated society with so
You
many
can
values
always blame the patriarchy.
and so many weird, virtues with Christianity, but kinda. So it's like, that has been a negative effect, especially on the sex education. I get it. A lot of people's parents are not open to it, but at the end of the day, like I always tell people, your kids don't want to talk to you about everything, unfortunately. They
Right.
don't. So if there's those trusted spaces out there where they can get that information so they can make better choices, then by all means, I don't see why we wouldn't support it. But America is just a very weird country. They put a lot of money into abstinence education versus sex education, and they think something is wrong with education. But it's like this is the world we live in now. So when you don't give people the tools, and plus these kids are smart. TikTok is
They are. But okay, here's why I kind of hate kids too. Professionally, I work with young people, but we don't need to talk about that. They have all the information in the world. So the dumbest kid in the class knows just as much as the smartest kid in the class. Essentially, the problem with these young people is that they really don't have a desire for really anything, and that's what I don't understand. Like there might be a kid or two that says, yeah, I want to be a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. They might have an idea that they want to do something, or there might be certains, but it disturbs me that the smartest kid in the class, visibly and easily, is just as dumb as the dumbest kid in the class because they have these cell phones. They have access to the world of information, and they all innately know more at their age than we knew.
That's
So
true.
when they're foolish and dumb, it's more frustrating because they have so much more to work with. I've evolved my thinking, and I've started to feel bad for them because I can relate. We had all the information in the world. We just maybe didn't want to go use the Dewey Decimal System to find it. Google is these little bastards Dewey Decimal System, right?
True.
So I've caught my thinking up, and I feel bad for them enough. But these kids are all brilliant, and they have access to what we want in the future. So I think we're on an even playing field. It's just a matter of
I
how
only feel that
interact
Gen Z is
and
super
how
radical. I want them. They need to be super radicalized. That's all I'm gonna say. I think they
super
will be.
radicalized.
I think they will be looking at certain things. Like I'm like, especially like with that critical race theory not being around anymore. Like I really pray and hope these kids learn a lot more. But it seems like they do. A lot of the kids I talk to, they're smarter than you think.
So do you think school has become the new corporate America?
School has
Drones.
always been a corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
Look at me.
I see it more now in schools, like everywhere. Like y'all ain't even smart. Like y'all ain't even
Because
smart.
schools don't teach schools, especially the public school system. Schools teach for money. Let's be very real, and that's not. And I understand it because schools need to stay. They need to get the funds to pay the bills, keep the lights on. But let's be very real. It's just like standardized tests. It's just like your SAT, ACT, any kind of state test. All those tests don't mean diddly squat. I know people hate it for me as a parent when I say that, but they really don't. A lot of them are rooted in racism. And all children don't learn the same. Like I look at my kid in math. My child is good at math. But when they were home during COVID, me and grandmama don't do this new style math. So we teach our way.
Yeah.
We teach our way, and the school tells us we can't teach that because that's not how the kids are supposed to work it out.
I get it too, because they teach different now, and hopefully that's what pays off. But nobody will let the new system persist, because there's an easier way to do it. I did it when I was a kid. Look, just get X, Y, two,
But you know why they teach the kids like that? For the standardized test.
Wait, they teach them our way for the standardized test?
They teach them these new ways for the standardized test. Yes, that's why. But you see, because of those tests, they're getting paid in money. So in reality, your kids, like, again, in the adult world, if you need to solve a math problem fast for work, you're going to do the way that helps you do it so you can get the job done. Am I correct? So what's the point in you teaching them whatever way? It's for the standardized test in reality. So they're not really, like, again, it doesn't make sense. Like, even for me, I say in my education field, what I do in my career, they didn't teach us how to work in the real world. They taught us how to study so we could pass a test so they could get paid from FAFSA.
That's it.
That's it. So it's like again, we're always, that's the thing with America, is like we're always on the hamster wheel. That's what they teach. That's what they're literally teaching you, is like, we're gonna make you into this little cookie cutter citizen, and that's it. So that's why, like, yeah, I want the younger generation to be radicalized. They need to take some shrooms, psychedelics, and be out there.
I agree with that. That would be amazing.
The
awakening of these young people. And before we close, I'll just, to hate young people one more time. They don't drink. They don't have sex. They don't use drugs at the level that we did. But we've also failed. Well, some of us may have failed to get to where our parents were at, right? For those of us that had parents that grew up in maybe in like the 60s, my parents grew up in the 40s. But if your parents grew up in the 60s, that was all experimentation. You know what I mean? And I bet you that there's lots of parallels. But these kids make better decisions on a whole. Not just because crime's gone down, but because I think that our young people are less criminal. I might be wrong. Maybe I have the numbers mistaken. But they hurt themselves more than they hurt others. Their concerns are about others more than they are about themselves. So they're very, very delicate and interesting. I want to see where these young people are in the next 10 years, like you said. I appreciate you making the time and talking about gender and identity.
I know I get off topic a lot, so I'm sorry.
No. I like that. You already know, because that's what I'm dedicated to, is making sure our young people find and navigate a way to the future. There's so many missing pieces. We've already identified pieces that are missing in the classroom. There's pieces that are missing in the household, and there's pieces that are missing in society. And this is before we get to the pieces that are missing within us. So I feel very, very passionately about that. Thank you. Anything you want to shout out, announce before we share?
Just shouting out my podcast. I didn't do an episode today because life.
Right.
But yeah, Shit Siren Says is streaming on Spotify, Apple, and Anchor. And you can find me on Instagram at Siren SYREN_Stallion, and hit my link tree, and yeah, come rock out.
Got to. Yo, Siren makes the dopest content. She's obviously, you see, she a cool gal, but she's committed to the cause. She's about it, and she's sharing beautiful artwork. I mean, just all the things that you do. Seriously,
thank you.
Keep doing your thing, man. Just because this is like this is your love for life. You know what I mean? This is something that I think pushes a lot of energy in you, and then you start diffusing that energy in the universe. So yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. You have a huge spirit, and I want you to keep up your work. Let people know where they can find you at. Is there any big events coming up in May or June?
No, because I'm going back to work. May, I might be hopefully going to a adult kink convention.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's about it. I'm trying to just crank out photo shoots and things like that, and get back on track with the podcast. Like I said, I fell behind, but that's just me transitioning to new career lane. So
you got to do it. You just got to do it. You got to keep all those irons in the fire. And you will. You're gonna be massively successful with it. We're just gonna watch.
Ooh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Y'all know where to find me at. Y'all know where to catch me. Until the next episode. Peace.